All right. So here we are recording. So where to start? I had a really interesting insight. Well, and this probably could be related to what we were talking about off camera. I had an interesting Friday night. I had this interesting set of dreams, and I woke up and I felt really suffocated. Like the dreams were about being in work situations, like back in corporate, where I was responsible for everything but had no power for anything, or authority to do anything. And which is really weird because I really didn't have, I had that sometimes and I didn't have that sometimes, but it felt so suffocating. And it was like being shown to me to really look at, because when I first woke up from it, the last one on Saturday morning, like I could see where we feel collectively that we're enslaved.
Right. And, it's really, in sitting back and observing what my husband's going through, that sums up everything, is that he's taken all the responsibility and no one gives him the authority or the power to get it done.
Right.
Which is just that reflection back of, and this is something that came to me this morning talking about, well, it goes back to what we did last week with the vibrations, and they're here. And it's like receiving them, but then knowing how to, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like metabolize them.
Well, yes.
To then have the power to do what needs to be done.
Yes. And you know what, oh, this is perfect too. So, and talking about the new crystal bowl and, how it's all about, getting beyond the ego and transforming all that and being in higher consciousness and speaking the divine truth. What happens is we're trying to get we get so excited, I don't know if it's excited. The ego tries to clamp on to what it can perceive, right? And the stuff that we've been talking about. And I think what we're doing is jumping the gun sometimes. So then everybody's trying to tell everybody else, oh no, you're supposed to do this with it. No, you're supposed to do that with it. No, this is you're supposed to do this, and it's like this whole no, I want to be there first. I want to tell everybody first and all that kind of stuff. And that I think almost limits us even more, because then nobody has any, everybody sort of gives away their power, right? Which is even more or less authority, right?
Right.
And because I think they're supposed to do this, they're supposed to do that. And it was really funny because this bowl mate workshop that I went to at the crystal bowl thing yesterday, somebody asked, the woman was talking about certain something and tones and how they relate to the different, chakras and the crystals and the different kind of gemstones and being added into the bowls and what that does. And somebody said, well, I went to this workshop, and this was really funny. And this is so common in the spiritual realm, right? I went to this workshop 10 years ago. This is what this woman was saying. She goes, by so-and-so, name dropping, right? By, that so-and-so did. And the woman it was so funny because she was so me, the woman that was doing the workshop, because it was she just sort of looked at her and I could tell she had no idea who the woman was talking about. Right.
Right.
And she's like, well, and in that workshop, they talked about, well, how you're supposed to form your mouth this way to make these sounds. And the mouth is supposed to be formed this way. And there was so much structure in, the way it was done.
Rules.
And she goes, and that's very different from what you're saying here. Right. Cause she was even talking about toning to clear the chakras, what the vowels are for each one, and then she goes, well, what do you know, do you know about that? And this is very different what I do. And she goes, well, and the woman dropped something 3 or 4 different names in that little comment that she had made. And the woman said, so I'm going to just say now I have no idea who you're talking about. And she started laughing, sort of like how I do. It's like, well, okay, I've never heard of them. Sorry, can't really relate. But she said, basically the equivalent of what we talk about, and it's different flavors of ice cream, but it's still ice cream, right? Where she's like, different methods come through to attend to different kinds of personalities and different paths. And she's like, and we don't all have the same path. So why would we think that anybody's right or anybody's wrong? It's just different. Like, she goes, so if you're guided to do that, then do that. And she goes, and if it feels good and it works for you, then do it that way. If this feels good for you, then do it this way, which was, of course, just an amazing, perfect response and stuff. So, but we have, and I think part of what's happening right now is there's so many things coming up, right? Because we are recognizing that there are so many paths, there are so many options. We're bringing up so many tools in support of how we feel really good about doing stuff, like, and taking that next step and evolving, that it's easy for us to get lost in these even little tiny loops of, oh, well, my way is better.
Right.
Or this person's way is better, or, or like who's right. And it was funny because so it was Razmahi and Paradiso did the didgeridoo, but he was there and talked a bunch. But he said, to that comment, he said, yeah, when I started doing the didgeridoo and sound healing stuff, he goes, started doing that like 20 years ago. He said, and when I first got drawn into it, he goes, I read every freaking book that I could come across about sound healing. He said, and every single book I read was completely different from the other one. There was no consistency. And I was like, I came to this point of, what's right? Like, is it this one, or is it this one, or is it this one? Because they're all very different and they all get results.
Right.
Like, and finally it was, no, it's my guidance and allowing myself to be the divine consciousness that I am, to bring through my note the way it's to be brought through.
Right.
And I feel like that's where we enslave ourselves, is that we have so many different things right now, and everybody's like, oh no, you have to do this way, or you have to do this way, or you can't do this way, or, oh, that's ridiculous. You have to have this really complex way, or you have to have this and it's like, there's no have to anything. And that's why I always tell people just the keywords: should, shouldn't, have to, can't, must, are all ego, right? And subjective. So I woke up Saturday morning feeling like it was a much bigger picture thing. Like, I felt suffocated. Like, literally, it was almost like there was a big, so funny that you went through all that this weekend, because I felt it in a very different way, even though it was the same thing. Right.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was this big net over us. And I'm like thinking of, like, I can see out there all of the visions on the conspiracy theories and on us being enslaved and under somebody. But the thing is, we have to allow ourselves to be limited. And the thing is, what is being enslaved? Being enslaved is allowing somebody else to have more authority over you.
Right.
To have more, to have more authority over what you do than you, really.
Right. And it's really just a mindset, a belief.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So that feels like that's really important right now, because of course you went through it in your own way.
Right. Well, and something else I was thinking of is, and we texted a little bit about this, about expectations. And it's like, so if we have these new vibrations coming in and we're aligning with acknowledging them, seeing them, feeling them, whatever, we still have an expectation of what that is.
Right.
And we have an expectation of what we're going to be able to do with them or not do with them. And if it's not meeting that expectation, then there's either feeling of failure, or it's not successful, or it's, so it's almost like not only do we have to be able to receive them and acknowledge them, but we also have to be able to and the word metabolize keeps coming to me. We have to be able to use them.
Right.
Without expectation.
And allowing them to be used in very individual ways without dictating how that's supposed to be, because that is expectation.
Yeah. Right. Which fits perfectly with what I kept thinking over the weekend, with the topic of how would I talk about Trinity? And you've asked people all the time, how do you describe it or whatever? Well, something that came to me this weekend about it is it is the, it's not just the modality, it's not just meditation, it is the, I don't even want to use foundation, because that implies a floor, and there isn't. It's almost like it's that core belief that it's the basis that everything stands on or stems from.
What I've been using a lot lately, because it seems to make sense to a lot of people, is that it's more like an operating system than a piece of software on a computer.
Yeah, but it's to me it's even a step beyond that, because it's the hardware too.
Well, that's true. It's all of it. It's the software and the hardware and the operating system.
And the user.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But it's almost like, it's like, if you want to go with the software theme, it's like once you install that, it makes everything different.
Right. Which is why I've been talking about it like an operating system, because it's like, it's like going from DOS 1.0 to like Windows 10 in one step and beyond, like just to give people a reference for what that is. And it runs everything differently. It helps you run everything differently, just because it helps to align ourselves back beyond all this ego and things that we don't even think ego's in, right? The whole, all separation, right? And individuation and hierarchy and all that stuff. So it takes away all of that to say, it makes it all easy. There's no delineation anymore.
Well, and it has a basis in everything you do from that point on.
Yeah.
And whether you align with Trinity, you have a basis in everything you do anyway.
Yeah.
You just don't know what it is.
Right.
And you're almost like I hate to use the word victim to it, but you aren't able to access it and use it.
What do you mean?
That's what Trinity gives you, is the ability to access and use it and understand.
Right.
And so it's not like you're giving somebody something that they don't already have.
Right. It's like flipping switches to allow that conscious access of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Which I think it's almost like that's what these new energies are that are coming in.
Yeah.
It's almost like an enhancement or an upgrade.
Well, and it's really challenging because there's so many, like, we are still so stuck in definition, right? So that's really the challenge. And that's what's been the challenge in, getting this new website done, which I did get to work on more later in the week last week. Because then it's all about, getting beyond the feeling that we have to be healed, the getting beyond, not the feeling, the expectation of healing, getting
right.
beyond the expectation of awakening, right? And getting beyond getting beyond expectation, period, to this place of what is really funny to me is how many, I know this changes your entire function of existence. And whether or not you embrace it, like you were saying, like whether or not you embrace it, right, and give it credit for it, it doesn't mean it doesn't change you. That's the funniest thing is I've seen people who've come through, taken Trinity, even like been really active for a while, and then gone off and done something else, or found a combination of things that really let them express who their divine self is. And I'm like, right. And that's the purpose of Trinity. Like it's
Exactly.
it's that remembrance of expression of the divine self in whatever way, whatever flavor of ice cream you provide as what you're embodied as, right?
Right.
And to give you and to give you the choice to say, I can do this and I can do this or this, and I don't have to do all of it. I can do some of it. I can choose to do this or I can choose to do that, but it's not like I have to do this way. I have to do this way. And what's really, really funny to me is how many who are practitioners don't even see that. Like, don't even see that. Oh, well, I'm off doing this now, and blah, blah, blah. And it's almost like they'll get apologetic to me. And I'm just like, why are you apologetic to me? Because you don't realize that this is like changed the entire way you function. And that to me is the success of it. So yay. I just wish it would be given a little more credit, because some people would get that this makes so much change in their lives. But and it's opening up those doors within us that allow us to give ourselves permission.
But by not giving it credit is just like being the victim, because that's the whole, and I hate to say the whole problem right now, but it's like, it's the whole giving away the power.
Yeah, that is true. And maybe that's what frustrates me, which, is ego, of course. But the thing that I see is, well, I think part of it is because we're not used to shifting being this way. This still is a new and different way of shifting, right? That those who don't give it credit don't even see the shift and how it led up to that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was funny because going back to the talking about, which is why I'm just like infatuated with them right now as my like friends, the crystal bowls. But the guy that I was talking about, he was talking about how he used to be a massage therapist, and like he started playing around with the bowls and the didgeridoo and whatever. And he said it was amazing that he started doing like a bowl thing in the beginning of his massage therapy. And he goes, and people have standard knots that they hold on to, right? In their body. He goes, and then I would do a bowl or be guided to do a bowl, like, a certain way and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, and then I'd go to massage them and the knot was gone. And that was literally just done by frequency, right? And that was his, and sometimes, whether it's sound healing or energy, it's all the same thing. It's all frequency and vibration. It's your flavor of ice cream, what you like to play with, right? And we play with all these different things and we have all these amazing flavors. But how do you explain? And now, like, he's like, in 20 years later, now there's all this science that's building up around it to explain how sound healing really works, because our bodies work in frequency, right?
Right.
And so, and now there's this science that says, oh, well, frequency and, if it aligns, it'll help to smooth out, open up stuff that's blocked. Well, that's energy healing. That's right. Yep. Thousands of years. Yep. It's funny because I think the didgeridoo, he said, has been around for about 6,000 years, so, because I think it was Aboriginal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think it was.
So funny, like, to say, and he's like, and then I started feeling guilty for charging my massage therapy patients, because he's like, yeah, I can change that in like 5 minutes with a frequency, So it's funny because we have these expectations, right? So we expect to have to work out that knot, right? We expect somebody to have to put their hands on us and push on it and manipulate it for it to work. We expect to align our back, we have to go to the chiropractor, or to do this, we have to go to the doctor, or we expect to, like, all this kind of stuff. And even in energy healing, this is just a quote, not me personally, but this is us in general, is I expect that, if I go in, I'm going to get wowed by this amazing, experience.
Right.
Because now the expectation is now dependent and victimized to your physical perception of it, right? Instead of trusting and allowing and knowing and being more connected to the higher self that I did shift, right? And to know that when something shifts right after something has been done, that it has to do with what we did energetically,
Right.
And I think that's part of what the challenge is with Trinity, is because it is just a shift now. There's no process needed. There's no, if you choose, you don't have to go through processing. You don't have to go through, detoxing. You don't have to go through any of that. You can just shift. And this is what it brings us to allowing. And all that's in our way is in ourselves, right? Is ourselves. So that's the same thing with everything, whether it's energetic or consciousness. If you want to subscribe to us being, enslaved by another race, by the Illuminati, by whatever
government,
by the whatever package or flavor of ice cream you want to put on it, it's all the same thing. And it's always our choice.
Right.
And that was what came to me so clearly Saturday morning when I woke up, and it was so choose to do it differently.
Right.
Choose to be free of that.
Right.
Which is what prompted me to post, I think, what I posted yesterday about
and choice sometimes is not an action thing. Sometimes it's a mental thing, to where it's just a question of seeing exactly the same facts differently.
Right.
And that, you don't have to, when you say, well, choose to do differently, that doesn't mean that, okay, I'm in this horrible situation, so now I have to back up and do this and do this and do this. Is just to totally see the same set of facts, totally different, to where actually the only thing that's changed is how you see it.
Right.
But yet everything's different.
Right. Well, because as soon as you see it differently,
it is different.
It is different. Right.
Right.
Exactly. So then it's then it goes back to the perception. Sometimes the perception shifter is simply the question: if I choose to put this in my, if I create my reality, and I do, and I put this in my reality,
right?
What is it showing me over and over again that I can't seem to get the message, or what's the message I keep on missing?
Yeah.
Even the simple thing that I was talking about yesterday with my crystal bowl thing, with the wearing purple and the funny, it was so funny. And sometimes we miss the smallest cues with ourselves, right? The message. But that's part of what this is about too, is hearing our higher self and listening, not just hearing, but listening to it. Right.
Right.
And if you have 4 brick walls around you and your guidance says, turn to the left about a foot to the right, and then just walk through, and you're going, wait, there's a brick wall there. And your guidance is like, just do it. Then do it.
Right.
You'll be surprised. It could be a mirage, it's usually a mirage or something, or something like that. It's so it's for us to choose to be aligned with freedom, right? To be aligned with the freedom to speak our divine truth, to embody our divine truth, to be whatever our purpose is 100%. That goes back to authenticity and allowing ourselves to be authentic, which we're so entrained to not be.
Right. And it's funny the way you just worded that. The card I pulled before the call was stay true and be in your power.
Perfect.
Osiris and Isis, Lord and Lady of Divine Authority.
I like it.
So that's pretty
perfect. Yeah. And if we do that and we speak from love all the time, right? And that's the biggest challenge, right? Because that's actually something that came up over the weekend too, which was interesting. I was happy to hear other people say that, as long as you stay in your truth and speak from love versus separation, that's all we need to do.
Right.
And that's really a complete rehabituation because we're not used to speaking from love all the time.
Well, I mean, it's just, we don't live from there.
Right.
We live from such a limited space, and that's, the new vibrations and the expansion and all these things are so foreign to us because we're used to living so small.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love
expectations are small.
Yes. And that's what it's funny because I've been seeing in the past week about people just doing something 100% and jumping in, which is it's time for us to do that. Right.
Right.
So it's like this, I posted, there's some guy who just like gave up everything and bought this. I think is it an RV?
Oh, and adopted the dogs.
The dogs, right?
Yeah.
And he's going around the country finding homes for these dogs, and he goes to shelters, and I think it's amazing. And I'm like, and that's like, he's like, yeah, well, all I have, I guess what he said was something like he had enough for a year, and he goes, and now see where that goes from there,
Right.
And I'm just like, every time we do that, the universe will step up to support us, or it'll tell us it's time to go in a different direction.
Right. Well, but that's still support.
Yeah. All right. Say, okay. And the challenge that we have, again, expectations, because we start going down this path, we think I'm always going to be doing this. And it's like, no, maybe I'm only supposed to do that for 6 months, for a year, for 2 years, for 5 years, for 5 days. And it's for us to be in that place of trust, right? And fluidity and non-expectation. Because I think that's what happens is we go, but I had guidance to do this. Yeah, 10 years ago.
Right. Right.
And now what's your guidance today? Because, I don't know about you, but I mean, week to week, we're like different people, like day to day these days. So it's like, I feel like I'm a completely different person today than I was last week. So it's interesting to think that something that we were guided to do 10 years ago might still be the same thing to be. And and that's for all of us. And that's what I've been going through as well as reconfiguring, what I'm focusing on, and not really reconfiguring, but what's now, like what works for me now and what doesn't work for me, just don't do.
Right.
Which is so much free. It's so freeing. That's the
problem.
Yeah. That's the way we, get out of our enslavement. But what are we enslaved to? Money, houses, marriages, jobs, children, like like all these roles. Yeah. And It's like, well, what if we like committed today and every moment to being 100% authentic in who we are, come from a place of love with all like that we interact with, and yet don't give away our power anymore. Like don't, even to expectations, to just say, okay, I am present here.
I've never put these two words together, but authentic freedom.
Oh, that's nice. Nice.
I mean, it's you assume freedom is authentic, but where we've been living, it isn't.
Yes. Well, because people think, well, if I only did this, if I only, that's giving away your power. If I only had the money, if I only had the time, if I only had blah, 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 that's giving away your power to whatever it is you're saying, if I only had, right? And that's coming from a place of lack versus saying, I am going to figure this out. If I am guided to do this, I'm just going to do it.
Right.
And I'm going to trust that it's all going to come together. And yeah, even if it looks like it's all falling apart, I see a lot of that, all of us have that going on right now in one way, shape, or form, because the stuff that doesn't serve us is falling away, and the ego is going, wait, that was my little comfort seed, But again, I did all of this stuff. I don't want to have to let go of this too.
Right.
So Some of us get put in this constant place of not stasis, in between them, which is what I've sort of felt like I've been in for the past like year, and probably still going to be in for a little while yet. But I'm starting to now, in allowing and being more comfortable with that, then the guidance of when I am guided to do something very specific, it's very clear because I'm very fluid to accepting something, versus just being in that in-between place.
Right.
Which I've become comfortable with too. So it's a lot of stuff. But you're right. The expectation is probably the basis of all of it.
Because it discounts your results.
Yeah. Yep.
Or it even discounts what's in front of you.
Well, right. And I'll tell the story about the crystal bowl thing on the air because I didn't do that before, but that was a perfect example. And it was such a little thing, but it was so funny of, I was going to this workshop on finding your bowl mate and these, amazing different gemstone and whatever. They call them the alchemy bowls with the metal and the gemstone, all kind of stuff. And, it's like I was guided really strongly to wear purple and like all purple. It was like overkill. And it was like weird. I like the color purple, but, I wear purple, I wear turquoise, I wear blue, I wear all kinds of colors. But the funniest thing was like, no, purple. I get there and there are all these bowls and I'm just like wowed and want to play with all of them because their consciousness is just amazing. And the first bowl that I tried was the violet bowl the violet flame aura bowl that I got, and yeah, I played it and it felt so comfortable and it felt so perfect. It was almost too perfect, right? No, I want to maybe there's another one that's going to just make me feel like wow, right? That's an expectation,
right?
So
right.
It's over here, and yet every time the woman's like, "Are you done? With this one in your field?" And I'm like, "No, that one feels like it still needs to be there." And I'm playing with all these other bowls, and it's like I end up coming back to this one. And the message over and over was, this is the bowl, whatever. This is the consciousness to connect with right now. Okay. And the whole thing was, that took me most of the afternoon to hear that.
Right.
And I'm pretty open to listening to messages. But in my mind, I was thinking, originally I was going to wear blue. And I was thinking of a blue bowl because why? Because of that amazing bowl in Mount Shasta, that, the kyanite and citrine and indium bowl. And I was thinking, maybe which they did have a kyanite bowl, and I was thinking blue, and like the message was purple. Nope, the bowl you're taking home is going to be purple. Violet. Oh, well, actually, it's because and I was telling Sarah offline, it looks a lot like the violet, the water flame versus the violet flame because it's got a lot of blue and because it's got the opalescence on it, and that's what it feels like to me, which is really all that matters, right? So. But I was judging it because I'm usually a violet flame person. I'm not usually
right.
I'm not usually this. I usually don't prefer this, right? That's all expectation. So think of all in this one little process of buying this bowl, all the expectations that I had to discard,
right,
just to get to the core of had I listened, I wouldn't have spent 3 hours playing. That was fun playing with all the bowls that I did, but I would have just said, no, this is my bowl. Right. But the ego says, but maybe I should shop around some more.
Right.
Maybe I should try
something better.
Right. Maybe there's something better. Maybe there's something that's going to wow me more. Maybe and yet I knew from the beginning, and we so many times do that to ourselves. I know, but yet I keep on telling myself it's going to get better. It's going to be different. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. Or I don't want to do this, or I don't usually do this, so I'm not going to do, and that's not usually me. Like how many times do we say, I'm just not a person that does blank.
Oh yeah.
I just don't like this. I don't like this kind of food. I don't like this kind of music. I don't like, I'm just not this kind of person. But you can be if you choose to be.
Right.
I'm just an introvert. I'm just an extrovert. Well, we can be both. Like we're still in that definition kind of thing. So yeah, that's the freeing and liberating ourselves from enslavement, is to free and liberate ourselves from expectation and to allow. It goes back to allowing all possibility, allowing our authentic freedom, which I love that. That's a great term.
That's two words I just never would have put together
No.
until today.
Authentic freedom. I embrace my authentic freedom in every moment. Oh, that feels so good.
I really like that.
Woo! Okay, that's the statement for today. I'm writing that down, so because I will forget. I embrace authentic freedom every moment. Woof! I embrace, I live, I am, I emanate, I embody authentic freedom in every moment.
I am
Yeah.
authentic freedom.
I am authentic freedom.
Oh.
That feels really good.
Really does.
All right. I think we're ready.
I do too. I do too.
All right, let's go.
Well, I could have just stayed there forever.
Yeah, that was nice. And again,
Wow.
very different.
Felt like a vortex at the very beginning.
It did. Yeah. In fact, it's funny you say that because I was thinking, God, this feels like the beginning of when we do Trinity Share. We do the vortex.
Yeah. Yeah. God, that was awesome.
Oh, and so multi-tiered is what I got. Yeah.
What?
So multi-tiered is what I got. Like so
Oh,
much.
yeah.
I can't even describe because I just kept on flashing all over the place and actually was reminded of something I saw over the weekend and had clarity as to what that was that I had seen. So I was like, very cool. That felt amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was, I feel so wide open.
Yay.
And clear, and I mean, I even felt the vibration in my teeth. It was like, oh, I'll take freedom there. Yeah, I even felt it in my house and my yard, and this whole, it was like almost like a bubble.
Yeah.
And it was like I would look at the blades of grass, and they would be, I could see all the colors in them.
Oh, nice.
Not just the green that we see. I mean, it was, and everything was that way.
Nice. Well, then we hit on the perfect thing, right?
Yeah.
As always.
Right.
Yeah, that was nice.
Oh.
Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. And, onward with the week. You know which one to hold. You know what intention to hold.
That's right.
Reach out there.